As you can probably tell from the way I talk about how people in my comments tend to ignore my arguments and misrepresent the things I say to purposely go off on tangents about nothing and how that genuinely infuriates me, you might have guessed that I used to be heavy into debate. Growing up, I was always force-fed how smart I supposedly was. I was the gifted kid, and while I do have a tendency to learn things quicker than most and I have a tested IQ of 180, I can tell you, as my ex-wife used to put it, that I am the smartest dumbass you will ever meet. I only seem intelligent because I have a way with words, but in reality I do shit like burn my hand on hot pans by not putting on oven mitts and forget basic information about things I should know about already, and do things that make no logical sense. I'm only smart on paper. In real life, I'm like a baby deer wandering through life at Mach 10, stumbling to seem like a fully functioning adult with a fully developed frontal lobe. In any case, this consistent force-feeding of how smart I supposedly am gave me a complex as a teenager, and when I became an atheist at 18, the amount of arrogance I had was only matched by, well, an 18-year-old who had been told how smart they are for 18 years and had freshly become an atheist. The point is that all the way until I was 21, I was heavy into the idea of fallacies. Logical fallacies are these neat little idioms that people who actually know how debate and logistics work can use to determine why an argument doesn't work, and they are also things idiots like 21-year-old me used to try to and shut down someone's entire argument. I'm quite partial to the fallacy these days. The idea that just because someone uses a fallacy, it does not automatically mean their argument is a bad one, or that they have lost the argument. For example, if I call Nick Merckx a stupid jackass for lambasting Ava Tyson and insinuating that Ava somehow abandoned her son by being a trans woman, and then I follow up that insult by pointing out that Ava has far from abandoned her child and is in fact heavily involved in her child's life, as is proven and backed up by every single person in Ava's personal life, including the child's mother, my argument against the walking failed steroid injection is not any less valid because I insulted him. In other words, an insult in of itself is not an ad hominem fallacy. This is very similar to the reason why I pointed out in my The DBD Community is Bad at Discussions video that it annoys me when people mention who they main and their hours for no reason when it does not pertain to the meat of their argument. Logical fallacies only work as call-outs when the argument is based around the fallacy. So today, let's cover a common fallacy in the Dead by Daylight community, the false equivalency. The false equivalency is a fallacy based on the idea that comparing two things that are not equal isn't a good argument. For example, when white people are desperate to say a racial slur get upsetty spaghetti because they will get called a racist for using it, while the people who were actually oppressed for using that word say it all the time, they will scream that there is an equivalence to black people using that word and them using that word, knowing good goddamn and well that that's not the case, and they are actually acting like toddlers over not being able to say a harmful slur. Sometimes people tell me I get too political in my videos, but very similar to the pronouns I put at the beginning of all my videos, it's sort of a litmus test to sort out the losers I don't want in my community anyway. In any case, the Dead by Daylight community loves false equivalencies, and most of it stems from tribalism. Now, I am going to do a second trial entry on tribalism soon. I'm running into problems because, very similar to my date last Saturday night, I'm trying to figure out how to fit as many dick jokes into it as I can. The tribalism in the DBD community runs deep and is the root cause of a lot of dumb shit flung from the hypothetical baboons across the monkey chain from each other named Cerberus and Kalara. And that joke was horrible, but like a 12-inch dildo after I finish, I'm keeping it in. The most prevalent form of false equivalency definitely takes the form of perk comparisons. The thumbnail of this video is going to fit a very specific pair of perk combos. For the People Buckle Up, and Franklin's Weave Attunement. Now, the Buckle Up combo was a problem because the counterplay for it was so absurd it practically did not exist. As a killer, there is no logistical way you can keep all the survivors injured at all times outside of very specific killers, and even then, sometimes very specific builds. Even hit-and-run killers have trouble keeping the whole squad injured because of the healing that got shadow buffed with all the mangled and hemorrhage nerfs that happened a few patches ago. This combined with the speed of it at which the combo could be executed, i.e. while the killer is in the weapon wipe animation, and you have a recipe for something that is practically uncounterable. On top of that, this basically resets a chase to a minimum of 20 seconds, as the 10 seconds of enduring is more than enough time for the picked up survivor or the combo activator to make it to any safe loop, wasting far more time than you imagine. And as my friend Brand has coined and put on his merch, match time is gen time. The more of the killer's time you manage to waste, the more gens get progressed, and that 20 seconds can easily mean a loss of the match. And again, that's the bare minimum. So you might be thinking, well, Kaiser, obviously, if this perk combo was so busted and people are comparing Franklin's Weave to it, then Franklin's Weaves must be insane. And no, it isn't. It's a fun combo and is also extremely powerful, don't get me wrong, but the problem with it is twofold. One, the counterplay is insanely easy. Just pick up your item And if you want to avoid it getting Franklin's, then move it to another part of the map, a far corner, for example. And number 2, unlike every other ore reading perk in the game, Weave straight up tells you it's getting activated, meaning you know exactly what's going on. You can also do things like run Object of Obsession to use the combo against the killer, which the killer could not do for fuckle up, but I've also never been a big fan of suggesting perks to combat problematic things, especially premium perks like Object of Obsession. And some might say I have a killer bias, yet another annoying fallacy tossed around in the tribalistic mindset of this community I will cover in another video. But no, I was all for the Call of Brine, Eruption, Overcharge meta being nerfed into the ground when it happened. I hated the Adrenaline nerfs and actively fought against them. I think Nurse needs further nerfs to make her not so powerful. I'm down for the new Lara Croft perk Finesse, despite it being very strong. I have no issues with things like BNPs and syringes being in the game. I think perks like Window of Opportunity, Lithe, and Sprint Burst need to be left alone and more. Before you start shouting bias at me, understand that I look at things as they apply to the health of the game, and despite how much some perks like Boil Over greatly annoy me, I'm not calling for their nerfs based on annoyance alone. But these comparisons of perk combos is just one aspect. Recently, Behavior implemented a change that would allow hooks to respawn after 60 seconds if they are broken by a sacrifice, basically preventing dead zones, and some people were really screaming that pallets should also be respawned, as if hooks are the equivalent to pallets. Pallets are a purposeful limited resource made to allow you to extend chases as long as you can, and hooks are a necessary tool for the killer to even achieve their goal. Hell, I don't even know why hooks break on sacrifices in the first place, but I'll take what we can get. Killer players have a weird habit of false equivalencies as well. I've seen killer players be like, oh well, why can't I get a 5th perk slot? Survivors have 12! My sibling in the entity, you are 4 times as strong as an individual survivor. Thinking you could run a 5th perk on killers and that wouldn't absolutely shatter this game's balance, like the fragile ego of the lead cheerleader being rejected by the nerdy guy she was planning to prank at homecoming anyway, then you have got to pull your head out of your ass, because I'm sure it's starting to stink up there. The final bit is to talk about how this community approaches discussion in general. For example, in my PTB review video, I lambasted people who selfishly slapped Lara Croft all over thumbnails when reporting on leaks, basically making it impossible to avoid the leak, and I called them disrespectful assholes for it. Some walking lacks of oxygen decided to attack me and call me a hypocrite for putting Lara in the thumbnail of that video. You know, the video that was made after the official announcement and therefore cannot be the definition of a spoiler? Of course I know why they said this. It's because they make leak content and wanted to try and hurt my feelings the way I hurt theirs. Sucks to suck. Learn to respect other people's wishes, assholes. Another example is in my video about calling unnecessary perk nerfs, where I made a clear and concise point that calling for perk nerfs should be reserved for perks that are either oppressive or have an unhealthy design that encourages unhealthy gameplay. People then said I was a hypocrite for talking about how distortion needs change, not understanding that my entire point in discussing distortion was that distortion is unhealthy for the game, and that's why it falls under the please change this. But something like Lithe is not unhealthy and should be left alone no matter how annoying or strong it is. Again, drawing a false equivalency between the arguments I was criticizing and my own arguments. In any case, the point is when arguing for fairness or trying to call someone a hypocrite, it's probably best to stop to think about actual arguments being presented for why certain things are happening. You can't just take two things and pretend like they're comparable. And in the world of balanced discussion, just because two things are complained about at the same rate, it doesn't mean that they are the same thing. And more than that, just because you see two sides making a complaint, it doesn't mean those complaints are on equal levels of frequency or ridiculousness. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think down below. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Need more Kaiser in your life? Well, I've got you covered. Check out my second channel, The Kaiser Extras, where I upload full gameplays, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also upload a daily short with all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.